Good evening. It's Sunday, January 4th. My name's Tom Stoukas, coming to you from Sarnia, Ontario. Hope everybody had a nice weekend. So, the big story still on my social media is, and my news feed, is the Venezuela situation. Everybody's still discussing it. What's going on? What the hell's going on in Venezuela, and what's going to be what's next? What's going to happen next? So Trump even said today, just now, like a few hours ago, that Greenland's next, and he's saying there's other countries on the list. So it's pretty crazy, but whatever. It's complicated. It's so complicated. There's so much more to it than what, it's such a complex thing going on, like so many bigger things going on. So it's hard to wrap your head around it. But it's like, are they at war with Venezuela? Like, are they fighting? They're not fighting. They just went and did a snatch and grab on the guy. Like, are they going to send troops? Who knows what the hell? It feels like there's more coming. This is just the start of other machinations in the world. I'm sure 2026 will be an interesting, very interesting, unpredictable. All right. So here's the first thing he said. This is what about Trump today. Said we need Greenland and that Venezuela might not be the last country subject to American intervention. Trump is retaking the entire Western Hemisphere from our adversaries. Let's see. Oh, I didn't plug in. I want to hear what he says about Greenland here, because Greenland, who's after Greenland? Maybe Canada. I'm sure Alberta is on his radar. Alberta and all that oil. It seems like the oil is the big thing, but Alberta's got a lot of oil. So after Venezuela and Greenland, I'm sure Alberta's he's probably already got things going on, things cooking in Alberta.
He felt very strongly we need Greenland for national security, not for minerals. We have so many sites for minerals and oil and everything. We have more oil than any other country in the world. We need Greenland for national security. And if you take a look at Greenland, you look up and down the coast, you have Russian and Chinese ships all over the place. We need it for national security. We have to have it. And he wanted to lead the charge, so we're making him, Marco, today, a special envoy to Greenland.
Okay, so
he felt very strong.
It's weird how he's right on to the next one. The thing with Venezuela is, like, he didn't conquer Venezuela. He just took out their leader. So it'll be like people are confused. A lot of people are asking, what's going on with Venezuela? But I think they're confused what's going to go on. They're just going to put someone in who's more obedient. I mean, it's such a weird situation. Like, how they just grab the guy so quick too. Like, it's a lot of stuff, a lot of details we're not aware of. But yeah, Greenland, next on the list. Plan to annex Greenland. Did he say it's probably the same thing?
Minerals and oil and everything. We have more oil than any other country in the world. We need Greenland for national security.
Okay, so national security. I'm sure they'll say the same thing about Alberta. But I said this the other day. I said, Alberta is going to use this the separatists are going to use this as a talking point, like how Trump is focused on oil and how important it is to have a great relationship with them. They'll use that as a separatist talking point. It might work. It might help them. It's definitely going to be talked about, the whole situation with Venezuela during the Alberta referendum, if it occurs, the referendum. All right. Next. This next video is finally some little news on Canada itself. It's an interesting video, and it shows why the Canadian economy is so screwed up and how come housing is so expensive. Let's see this.
Taxes filled the government coffers. The
And
construction job.
it's horrible. Like when you base your whole Canada basically bases its economy, its GDP on building houses and importing immigrants to keep the housing market going. It's like a big Ponzi scheme almost. And instead of like basing your economy on like your resource exploitation, like using your resources and technology and investing in all sorts of new stuff, we're using like a housing scheme to keep the GDP going. That's what this video is about. And that's why you can't afford rent.
The other side of the Canadian housing bubble is where the money came from. For the last 15 years, Canada has effectively hung a "open for business" sign for the world's illicit capital. This is known as the Vancouver model. International crime syndicates, corrupt officials, and tax evaders realized that Canada had a loophole. You could buy real estate through shell companies with almost zero transparency. You didn't have to say who the real owner was. You could show up with bags of cash at a casino, wash it, and buy a luxury penthouse. This phenomenon, known as snow washing, turned Canadian real estate into a global piggy bank for the world's dirty money. Reports estimate that billions of dollars were laundered through British Columbia and Ontario real estate alone. This massive influx of artificial demand disconnected local housing prices from local incomes. A dentist in Vancouver wasn't competing with another dentist for a home. He was competing with a shadowy shell company funded by capital flight from overseas. The government knew this was happening. Intelligence agencies warned them, but the government did nothing. Why? Because the influx of foreign money was propping up the GDP numbers. It made the politicians look like economic geniuses. The real estate transfer taxes filled the government coffers. The construction jobs kept the unemployment numbers low. They became addicted to the drug of foreign capital. And when the prices got too high for locals, the government didn't try to lower prices. They tried to increase the demand even further to keep the Ponzi scheme going. This brings us to the demographic shock. In recent years, the Canadian government has ramped up immigration to levels that are unprecedented in the developed world. We are talking about population growth rates of roughly 3% per year. This is faster than many developing nations in Africa. The government argues this is necessary to fill labor shortages. But the economic reality is that this is a demand-side stimulus for the housing market. When you bring in 1 million people in a year, but you only build 200,000 housing units, the price of shelter has to go up. It is basic supply and demand. This policy has crushed the rental market. Rents in major cities have skyrocketed, forcing young people and immigrants into overcrowding. We are now seeing slumlord listings in Toronto where people are renting out half a bed or a mattress in a kitchen for hundreds of dollars a month. We
Or
are seeing
closets.
an explosion of tent encampments,
Yep.
dubbed Trudeau towns, in every major city park. This is the third worldification of a G7 nation. But the government cannot stop the population flow because if the demand drops, the housing bubble bursts. And if the housing bubble bursts, the banking system goes with it. This is the scary part. The banks. In the US, there are thousands of banks. In Canada, there's an oligopoly known as the Big Five. These banks control almost everything. They are massive. They are protected by the government. And they are exposed to the housing market to a terrifying degree. For years, these banks handed out mortgages like candy. But unlike the US in 2008, where the loans were ninja loans, no income, no job, Canadian borrowers generally had jobs. The problem wasn't the borrower's employment. The problem was the structure of the loan. In Canada, you cannot lock in a 30-year fixed.
That's the main point of that video. That portion of the video was, geez, Canada's screwed because we relied on this housing scam for years. And now, how are you going to unwind it? You can't. Without a housing crash, who knows? But people need a place to live. Canadians need a place to live. And it's ridiculous that you can't afford a place to live. So one way or the other, that's got to be fixed. But this is what they've led us to. And I don't understand it. Like, you're such a rich country with such resources, and you're doing this kind of stuff for GDP. It's ridiculous. It's mismanagement at the highest levels, or theft at the highest levels. Here's another Canada story. Now the Venezuela thing's starting to wear off a little, thankfully. I think people are just waiting to see what's what's going to drop next after this Venezuela thing. But this is on the Canada front. Approximately 1 million Indians in Canada are set to lose their legal status by mid-2026 due to expiring work and study permits. That's a lot of Indians, 1 million. And like all of them basically do not want to go back to India. So it's going to be crazy to see how many actually go back once their paperwork expires. I mean, some will probably go back, but probably a lot will do whatever they can to remain in Canada or go to another country, another Western country. 1 million, that's a lot of Indians. Like if you got rid of 1 million, like they went home, that's a lot of extra, spaces for housing, for doctors. But I don't see them leaving. Wishful thinking, I don't think they're going to leave. We'll see. We'll see the numbers. Okay, let's see John Paul Berg. He seems to think, so is it officially World War III yet? I sincerely hope whatever is occurring goes as peacefully as possible. Pray for peace, prepare for anything. Yeah, I think this Venezuela thing's kind of like the first, like there's a lot of stuff going on with China and Iran and Israel and Russia, Ukraine, like it's all connected. So you can't really affect the geopolitics, but you can get yourself prepared, I suppose. Get a bunch of water and food. This is what we're ready for. All right. This is a response by Maxime Bernier to the U.S. actions in Venezuela. I read it. It's pretty good. It sums up exactly how I feel. So I think he did a good job, Maxime Bernier, especially compared to like the political hysteria responses by both sides. You got some politicians condemning Trump, calling him all sorts of, like saying he's a war criminal for doing what he did. And then you have the other side basically cheerleading him, saying, oh, yeah, good, like, we're going to do this. This is how we, like, basically against what MAGA stands for, like foreign invasions and regime changes. So they're kind of cheerleading them now. But this is a good kind of centered, thoughtful and reasonable response that most politicians aren't making. So he doesn't have sympathy for Maduro, who destroyed his country and forced millions into exile. Okay, but the change of regime was responsibility of Venezuelans themselves. I cannot support the Americans for once again militarily intervening in a country that posed no threat to them, and for having illegally kidnapped its president and his wife. They act as they have for decades, like imperialist bullies who believe they have the right to do whatever they want anywhere in the world. Yes, dozens of U.S. foreign interventions since World War II, invasions, coups, wars, bombings, assassinations have nearly all had devastating long-term consequences and been responsible for the deaths of millions of innocents. That's what people don't understand. Like this policy's been done for a long time, intervening in other countries, whether it's political uprisings or like fomented uprisings, like in Ukraine, like in Iran, or in '53, or like coups by the military, supported by the U.S. So they don't usually end up good for the people of those countries. Like there's death squads in South America during the Cold War. Whole villages were shot. It was pretty gruesome stuff. So I don't think going back to that's good for anybody, for the whole world. So despite overwhelming U.S. military superiority, they also often led to defeats and humiliations from Vietnam to Afghanistan. Who knows where the Americans running Venezuela, a huge country of 30 million, will lead to. So We can credit President Trump for showing far more restraint than his predecessors, not having started any major war so far. So yeah, like, he hasn't sent tanks into Venezuela yet. Or Iran. He just bombed them a bit and stole their leader. This intervention has nothing to do with ending drug trafficking or restoring democracy. It is about controlling Venezuela's oil reserves, the largest in the world, as Trump himself admits, and countering China and Russian influence in Latin America. It's also about propping up the petrodollar. That's important, because Venezuela was selling their oil in Chinese yuan money, Chinese money, currency. That's a big no-no. Okay. They're trying to slow down the de-dollarization trend initiated by the BRICS at a time when Washington has lost control of its spending and the dollar is being debased at an accelerated rate. Yes, gold and silver is jumping too. Trump understands better than his predecessors that the world is becoming multipolar and that American military and financial hegemony is waning. He accepts the U.S. can no longer intervene everywhere with impunity, but is reasserting the Monroe Doctrine to maintain control over the Americas, which includes Canada. So if he can't control the world, he'll control this half of the world. This explains his aggressive policy towards Venezuela, the financial bailout of Argentina, and his outrageous stance on taking over Canada and Greenland. This is not good for Canada. We are overly dependent on the U.S. economically and militarily, and we obviously can't afford to threaten their key interests. We must be prudent. They could just as easily find a reason to intervene here one day as they did 250 years ago. Okay. Being prudent does not mean we have to support all their pointless wars and immoral geopolitical stances. We certainly should not congratulate them when they act like arrogant bullies, as Pierre Poilievre foolishly did yesterday. Just as we should have done regarding Russia's invasion of Ukraine, we must remain neutral and stay out of foreign conflicts that do not directly concern us. And as always, put Canada's interest first. So yeah, that's a letter, that's a response by Max Bernier. Obviously, makes too much sense, so no parties, like major parties, are gonna say stuff like that. But, yeah. Crazy stuff's happening. So, lots of stuff in play with Trump. At least it's not boring. Definitely not boring. Here's this. Trump says we're going to run Venezuela and take its oil. Now what? That's the big question. Now what? What's going to happen now? Should be interesting. Something's going to happen. Okay. Here's another post about Venezuela. The conflict with Venezuela isn't about oil. It's about survival of the U.S. dollar and debt. The petrodollar death spiral just accelerated. You're watching a currency defense operation. All wars are bankers' wars. Yeah, the dollar is a big thing. It's interesting. It's crazy. Gold and silver, they're jumping. I don't know if that's... I'm sure it's related, but we're living in crazy... You're seeing crazy stuff. Historic. All right. Here's another cartoon. It's about an American at an IT job who got replaced by Indians. But the cartoon's funny. I said, I'm way more worried about this than I am about Venezuela. Like, they were probably a thorn in the side of the U.S., but I wouldn't call them a threat. But threats are, I guess, relative to who it is, who feels threatened. But yeah, that's a bigger problem than Venezuela. All right, there's Anida Poilievre. Anna, courage. She's from Venezuela, I guess. So her family all came here because they were opponents of Chavez, and I said, oh, when are you going back? She's not going back. that's another thing. If this Venezuela thing, if it gets like a civil war, because it could happen a civil war. It's a very divided society. That's just going to be more refugees for Canada. You can bet. And it'll be like, if it spreads to other countries, instability. I don't, still too early to tell. I don't think that'll happen, but I hope there's no civil war. Those are nasty. Okay, next. Here's the whole Venezuela issue sorts the Trump supporters into two categories. This is a good post. I read this. Those who are critical of the American machine, once again doing regime change, like the neoconservative forever war policy. So regime change is the thing they wanted to avoid with Clinton, and the obsequious sycophants who will lick his balls no matter what the fuck he does. Yeah, there's like, you can support Trump. Like I preferred him over Kamala any day of the week. I've had a faint hope that he would be a real force of change, but I'm pretty well dashed on that. But you can still support the guy and criticize him. You know, these guys, a lot of these MAGA guys, they'll do whatever Trump says. It's really weird. It's like it's kind of like cult-like. But it's crazy this first year of Trump. We still got 3 more years of Trump. He's not boring though, at least. He's not like Biden. Biden puts you to sleep. Carney puts you to sleep. Trump, he don't put you to sleep. You can't sleep around Trump. I like this cartoon. President we voted for. President we got, America first. Because Netanyahu was in the Mar-a-Lago just a couple days before this all happened. So, and then the Iran thing too. So it's kind of funny. Poor Trump. And the Epstein files, all that. Like, no talk about Epstein files now, because it's all about Venezuela. Crazy. All right. Those Epstein files must be really bad. Yes. Nothing in the news about it. It's going to be all Venezuela now, and all about this foreign invasions. Great way to keep the Epstein files off the news. Whenever the pores are getting oh, and the Somalian daycare story is totally off the map now. Whenever the pores are getting really nosy about massive government fraud. Oh look, it's bomb o'clock. Yes. It's funny. Alright. A lot of these cartoons today, I like my favorite part of the internet. Maduro's biggest mistake was not being buddies with Jeffrey Epstein. They'll blow up the planet before showing you my list of friends. That's funny. And this is, we're talking about the Trump, the cult. Basically, there's people who support Trump and still have critical thinking, and there's people who support Trump like they jump off a bridge if he told them to. War is good now. See, basically the opposite of what Trump MAGA was brought up on, anti-war, anti-regime change policies. So it's just a load of bull, basically. Now war is good now. It's interesting. Here's Maduro's biggest mistake was not being friends with Jeff Epstein. Yes, that was a big mistake. If Maduro was on that Epstein list, he would not have a problem. He's being perp walked all over New York too. It's so strange. It's the weirdest thing. I really don't understand it, but it's funny. It's like I'm out of a movie or something. Tens of millions of struggling Americans, we are tired of being taxed to death just so politicians and scam artists can steal our money while no one is held accountable. U.S. government, best we can do is regime change in Venezuela. Yeah, like U.S. is kind of falling apart a lot. And Donald Trump in the first year really spent more time on foreign policy than anything going on in the U.S. and fixing the U.S. problems. It's crazy. Next, right-wing media. Trump has liberated the Venezuelan people from tyranny, a true humanitarian. Trump did it for the oil. We're taking the oil. It's our oil now. I love oil. That's an actual quote, I believe. So yeah, we were talking about this yesterday. It's like, just say it's for the oil. I would respect you more if you say it's the oil. And Trump at least says it. But when the news pulls this, and the supporters and the neocons push this freedom and democracy and anti-drug trafficking, it's the oil. Because this is the thing, Trump pardoned, a month ago he pardoned ex-Honduran president of drug trafficking conviction. This was during Biden. Biden nabbed this guy. But he was just an ex-president. He wasn't I don't think he was a sitting president. Former Honduran. Anyway, if you're going to go after the South American leaders for drugs, you're going to have to bring in most of them, like Mexico. All the politicians in Mexico are probably connected to the cartels. And further down the line of distribution, I'm sure all the leaders are in that. And even the CIA probably. So just say it's the oil. It's a lot easier. How did Iraq, Libya, and Syria turn out after their leaders were deposed? That's a good point. Iraq's still recovering from 20 years ago, or from just basically any decades of Western intervention, bombing, decades. And Libya, it's a hellhole. Like, they have like an open slave market now. And a lot of refugees, millions of refugees now go through Libya, where before Gaddafi stopped them from coming into Europe. Now it's like a open border. In Syria, of course, Canada got tens of thousands of refugees from Syria. So, and the country's destroyed, run by terrorists now. So yeah, all three of those where the leaders were deposed were total disasters. I mean, there are exceptions, like Panama. They got Noriega. And the country didn't go to hell, but Panama is very small. It's just like a city almost, like a city-state. And had the Panama Canal, so the U.S. was always going to have a presence there. But that's probably the best example of regime change. Like, basically whatever could go right went right there, I suppose. Like the country didn't go into chaos at all. But it's a very small country, Panama. So I don't know if it's probably like the exception to the rule. Panama. I remember Panama. Okay, next. It's also time. Watching the No New Wars crowd cheer on their... Here, let me see. Watching the No New Wars crowd cheer on their pedophile in chief as he does another regime change war. Yeah, some of these are nasty today. Well, I mean, if he is in the Epstein list and he's doing this to hide his involvement, then I guess that's justified, but some nasty ones today. Doesn't mean I agree with it. Just, I guess I did retweet it. All right. Wait, people really think this is happening because America cares about fair elections in Venezuela? No way. Okay. Yeah, people actually think that. That's weird. All right. Always the same script. it is, you know, when you've seen this over and over again, it is the same. They always call the guy a dictator. They say the people are being oppressed. We have to free them. But usually that country has oil. That's the big giveaway.
I'm not even going to play around anymore.
I don't even like Jon Stewart, but I agree with him on this.
We're giving them full opportunity to do it the easy way. And when it doesn't work, we'll do it the hard way.
If we can do things the easy way, that's fine. And if we have to do it the hard way, that's fine too.
Chemical weapons is a threat to the United
It's weird.
States.
I've seen this all before.
A chemical weapons threat to the United States.
Al-Qaeda terrorists inside Iraq.
Al-Qaeda of our hemisphere.
We can get rid of Saddam. It could really begin to transform the region.
There's an opportunity to transform the entire region.
Bringing freedom and democracy.
Democracy and freedom
can serve as a
Beacon of hope.
Shock and awe.
Yeah, so that's what you see on the news. Like, it's over and over, they do the same thing. It usually doesn't end up good for the people that live there. Here's this. There's another, this one's a little mean too, but whatever. It's the internet. We're all big. We're adults here. Are you ready to die in Iran for a blackmailed pedophile? Oh, there's some nasty ones today. Taiwan, Venezuela, yeah. Venezuela, Iran. Answer the call, U.S. Army. Some nasty ones today. Next, learn the difference. This is a good one. A lot of memes today. A lot of Venezuela memes. So, Russia invasion, U.S. intervention. Yes, a lot of hypocrisy there, because you literally, they spent the last 4 years saying this about Russia invading Ukraine, and then when the U.S. does it, all the EU people in Canada say the opposite. So it's like a lot of hypocrisy. Just be honest. Be straight with people at least. All right, regime change and nation building have never benefited the American people ever, or probably the people getting regime changed. Unfortunately, a large portion of the population are drooling retards who always think this time is different. Yes, I agree with that. Regime change never usually, it's got a bad, like I said, I think the only time is Panama, but I'm sure there's other instances. But Panama is the best case, not a very good case. Everything else was disaster. Next, remember, it's the same people who were shocked at Russia illegally invading Ukraine who are now gloating over the U.S. illegally invading Venezuela. They have no principles, no scruples, no morals at all, and they head every Western state. Yes, hypocrisy is bad. It's bad. Next, did Trump campaign on a promise to end the neocon foreign policy, or did I dream that? Because, yeah, and he's promised more interventions. That's the thing. It's like literally the opposite of what he campaigned on. So, that's it. That's the big, that's the end of the day for me. So yeah, that's the big question, is what next? What next? What's the next shoe to drop in the 2026 early days? We'll find out. It'll definitely won't be a boring year. I thought 2026 was going to be the year of remigration and talk of rebuilding Western society and canceling white guilt and all that. But now, no, it's all neocon imperialist regime changes for 2026 to start off 26. Anyway, the next broadcast, when will it be? January 7th, Wednesday, January 7th. We'll see what country Trump invades next. if he invades any country by then. It'll be funny. Until then, have a nice night.